All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Thursday, April 28th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Perhaps time to wake a few of us up, albeit, hey, I mean, we've had a couple of great opportunities from market open to even right now. The T-Doc here making a nice dead cat bounce for right now. Great to see you, Ray. Great to see you, Robert, Gene, Norman, all of us rejoining us now, perhaps live inside the Cyber Group room. And if you're joining us once again on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back as well. So, folks, I don't have class to teach this afternoon, albeit a coaching session one-on-one with one of our students this afternoon, but I don't need to rush through things as much as I did the early part of this week. So let's hop right to it. The T-Doc trade for right now, it's action number 3 on the losers list here, down over 41% and, dropping in that sense. So it ended up actually being down like 55, even 60%, I believe, in pre-market. I mean, it was down big. It ended up dropping all the way down from 56 down to like 30, right? Sub 30. So, the thing is with any type of stock that's down 40, 50, 60%, if it stops continuing to drop, well, perhaps you can anticipate shorts to cover, perhaps a bit of a dead cat bounce at that point. Well, this ended up doing exactly that. It found its legs and then ended up breaking above 30. And then from that point, ended up making a hell of a move. So I was with one of our students, Twan, in a coaching session. And we ended up catching this like nearly perfect time here as it was just breaking over 30, heading into like the late morning, early afternoon session. It was right over here. Actually, it was like perfect timing off like the final break off 30, where we ended up just seeing it break above 30. Very easy entry. We can't always, drop the E word as frequent, but, it's to say we avoided the rummage. We avoided the consolidation and false breakouts around that 30 level. That was a huge level to work with from pre-market. So actually, just one thing to do briefly, and I know I don't always have the chance to do this here during these meetings, but I could at least do it here right now. I'll bring up bookmap level 4. At $30 this morning, shortly after the open, this thing was, well, first all over the map. I wasn't watching this here out the gate this morning, so even if it dropped off or squeezed out the gate, I would have missed that. So thankfully, I can say I missed this because this was like out of control. Ended up snapping down, pushing up, getting halted, snapping back down. Well, we ended up seeing a couple of huge prints filled off the ask at $29.99, and I think $29.99 here as well. Now, perhaps that could be someone covering short, and with that, well, they ended up squeezing the stock down a little bit further. But ultimately, whether it's someone covering short or someone actually looking to buy off the ask, we call that buying volume in layman's terms, so to say, or just to break it down as like simply as as simple as possible. Well, the question that you ask yourself is, what happens if history could repeat itself? Not in the sense of seeing the big 79, 80,000 share prints again. That's likely a one-off, but in general sense of what happens if we continue to see more buying later on, throughout the late morning, early afternoon, more so here. And Twan and I, just like perfect timing, we turned over to this stock right here. We avoided all of this. And at this point, with the T-Dot trade down like 60% or 55 or however many percent it was, why can't this thing make $1 to $2 move up off of 30? That is. The stock dropped from 56 down to sub 30. Why can't it make a big move off that big level? That's exactly what I would expect it to do. So the question that you ask yourself, is how big is big? You don't want to get greedy on a trade like this, expecting a bigger move than what really happens. So on this trade, I was telling Twan, well, I think a good target on this would be in between 31.50 and 32. Well, it blasted above 31.50 after holding underneath it pretty nicely for a little while, but it took off much higher. So ended up pushing up a little bit higher from where we thought it would ultimately. And hey, perhaps it could still go. I know the market ended up making a great push going into the early afternoon. Looks like it's holding strong near the highs. So why fade that, right? I would expect the markets to either just kind of consolidate into the close or pop higher, right? So with that, perhaps T-Doc can maybe get the push up higher. Either way, we'll put this on our watch list here for the afternoon just because it's still tradable, still shortable, at least for my platform, if it's hard to borrow on your platform. And if it drops, then, you would have to follow something else, find a different trade to take. But, respect this trend up for right now, and we'll start there. So the T-Dot trade, look to see if we can get more buying coming in off the 33. There's about like 6,300, 6,400 shares on the ask right now. I see from level 4 at 33.50. All right, so the IDAI trade is a stock that I've never traded before. It's a stock that you could see whether it's relatively new of a stock as an IPO or what. It's had a couple of funky pops back from 2021, and we've never really traded the stock before. So it's very easy to become more intimidated by a stock that you've never traded before, especially one that is pretty cheap and normally trades low volume. You'd expect for the volume to die off, and when the volume dies off, so does the stock. That's what we always say here, right? So with that, the IDAI trade ended up making a great trade even from pre-market. After 8 o'clock, it made that 8 a.m. move, as we always like to say, Grant and I inside the live trading room here. Broke out nicely from 5. Ended up running up into the open. We always say don't trade going, or we don't. We always say don't hold a stock leading into the open, and certainly don't look to jump into a stock within the first 3 to 5 minutes normally. So, hey, did I trade this pop right out the gate this morning when it ended up popping from like 6 up towards 8? No. But I ended up catching the bounce. It was a little bit of a bounce, but it was the perfect trade. Basically right off of 520, 525, and a little push up. But otherwise, aside from that little thing, this has just been a down move all throughout the morning, into the afternoon at least. So this IDAI trade, maybe keep it on your side list, but not really worth watching at this point. More exhausted now at this point, more now than anything. Jeez, that TDOC is storming on the way up. That just blasted back above that 33, and it's on the way up towards that 33.50. Swivels, SWVL ended up getting halted once or even twice, perhaps. That is, ended up bottoming out right around that 875 area, 850-ish, 875 area, and then pushed up a little bit more here heading into the late morning, but lower highs, kind of same deal as that IDAI trade. It's just got a funky daily chart. I think we talked about this just yesterday here. Trading a lot of volume today, so definitely becoming more of a side list stock at least. I'll at least consider it a little bit more day to day. PBI was at the highs earlier here. Just it's so slow. It's so slow. I don't know if this is going to make as clean of a push as you would expect for a stock like this too. At this point in the afternoon, at this point, folks, I'd rather. Oops, a sec here. At this point, I'd rather just trade the T-Doc here, which is just, it just blasted above that 33.50. It's on the way up towards 34 right now. It's already beginning to fill the gap from the after hours into the pre-market from this morning. So, hey, this one rightfully is on our list, but I'd rather focus on something that looks like this than something a little bit more flat and like watching the grass grow like PBI. All right, let's see what else we got here. The ACHR, I know Fausto had called out earlier. This one, this one's moving better than PBI, granted. Ended up making a good push pretty much from the get-go, based out right around 405, and it's still pretty close to the highs, right? This is better than PBI. Let's see what else we got here in the meantime. First, out of the side list stocks, I'll call them this one here would be at the top, the most likely to kind of make the jump to the main watch list here. All right, Lending Club here, LC, I believe. Not a whole lot to really write home about right now. I don't know, folks. There's not much that really looks that great from the gainer side, surprisingly, because the market's up. So, here, Pinterest. I don't think I skipped over this. It was just kind of towards the bottom here, but Pinterest ended up making a great trade from the after hours. I think it was based off earnings into this morning. It was actually a really, really good short right out the gate. Pulled back pretty nicely towards 19, sub 19, but ended up beginning to push up with the market and really good trade here heading into the afternoon. So, yeah, Pinterest will be added to our list. Let's see what else we got here. Any other familiar names? Just like kind of looking at here. I saw the HUSA at the highs just earlier. That was looking good. Still hanging in there. Ended up actually just breaking over 4, not just once, but twice. So, hey, it's to say if you haven't looked at the stock until right now, that's a really good thing. The fact that you avoided both of these false breakouts here, because it's still holding strong. The question that we always ask ourselves is what happens if history could repeat itself? Not in the sense of the false breakout, but in the sense of it breaking above 4. It can only break above 4 so many times before it really exploding or making a really big move. So, hey, if we're looking at this trade now for the first time, or if you are, or, I haven't traded the stock yet myself. So, if I give this a whack, or, I'll take it right off of 4. If this could break over 4, just set your stop very tight under 4 or relatively tight. And, it's to say that it's worth the shot because when a stock breaks through a big level, we should get a pretty big move shortly after. So with the amount of buying that we started to see already, if it could break back over 4, we'll give it a shot, give it a chance. All right, so let's see what else we got on the loser side for right now, folks. I think that's pretty much all I can catch from the gainers end here. That TDOC is still just holding strong right now. That's right around 33.65, 33.63. All right, so TDOC, number 3 on the losers list. Already saw that already. OST down 89%. Holy smokes. Jeez. All right. I actually have not seen this stock until right now. I finished up the morning pretty nicely. I was in and out of a few different coaching calls from the morning into the afternoon. We weren't looking for really many trades, and myself and Twan were on TDOC, so I didn't really see this OST, truth be told. Holy smokes. Hey, if I was saying that about a 40% or a stock down 40% or 50, 60%, what do you think I'm going to say about a stock down 89, near 90%? Right? It's worth the look, worth the shot. And if it doesn't bounce today, then we'll give it a look tomorrow morning, perhaps. It's not a good stock to follow as a swing trade long term, but as a day trade, for a stock down 89%, 90%, what the hell happened? I mean, you'd imagine the shorts to cover, if there's any. That would squeeze the stock up temporarily. That's what we would look for. That's what happened on the TDOC trade, right? Short covering, buying, a combination of both. But, this thing's moving up perfectly. All right, LLNW. It's down enough for me to at least look at either direction, but it's just so flat here from the 5-minute chart you could see. So, not too particular right now. That ACHR trade from the gainer side, I said that was kind of like on the top of the side list. I'd rather follow that. You know what I mean? Let's see if there's anything else looking good from the losers end. Although the market's up, obviously not expecting for there to be a whole lot from the losers side here that would stand out. Inverse ETF, SQQQ. That TDOC trade might get halted. Tell you what, I left a ton of money on the table just there. It has the chance to make that squeeze up. You just don't know when. I don't want to be a jerk and hold on to a trade when I do the afternoon meeting. Sometimes I do. Sometimes, more times than not, it works out. But I don't like, being in a position up a certain amount and just like scanning through the market, and then all of a sudden coming back and the stock like comes crashing back down when I could have managed the trade much better. So, there's always another chance to jump in, I always say. But that's a hell of a pop. It's like $1.50 pop on that TDOC from after I got out. So, BTU, going back to the losers list to wrap up. BTU, one from the morning that we ended up doing really well on. I caught a nice trade on this too from this morning. So, really not many complaints, but that would have been a nice add on that TDOC if I held on to those shares. But for BTU, listen, it ended up making a great recovery earlier, bounced off at 25, pulled back down $1 plus. Could it bounce back up over $1 and more? Could it break a new high here heading into the afternoon? I don't think so. I mean, it's possible. It definitely is possible. I'm not like ruling it out completely. but I don't have a great need to put this on our watch list right now. If it wasn't making such a clear top here, rounded top, and not only that, you could even call this so much as like an head and shoulders. If this wasn't making such a perfect head and shoulders, although it hasn't truly broken the neckline just yet, I wouldn't be as, detracted by it. I'd be more interested in putting this on our list. But let's see, RJF joining us on YouTube. We'll jump to the YouTube chat first. RJF calling out the Viru trade just over the last 3 or 4 minutes. I love Viru. It's a great tradable stock. It's been on my side list since we really started to trade it. 12's a good level to look for a bounce. It made a good bounce off at 12 earlier for about 40 or so cents. It's like a middle of the road side list stock. So I would, if you do well on it, if you're already in the position, if you're following it on a day trade, either way, I would put it on your personal list. But nothing about it truly stands out to me right now. Any thoughts on Amazon? I think they're reporting after the close today, right, Aravinda? I have no information on Amazon, like market-wise, like in terms of like, company financials and all that. We saw it happen with Facebook. They ended up reporting pretty nicely. That's not to say that Amazon's going to exactly follow suit, but, should Amazon post some pretty good earnings here? I mean, it seems like the markets are squeezing up pretty nicely collectively. So perhaps that could be the calm before the storm here for Amazon, meaning perhaps that could be a nice clue for what's ahead. We'll see. But I don't have any, factual information to give you right now, unfortunately. It says, yes, earnings today, but if it's pushing so well, does that mean a positive? You'd hope so. And again, that doesn't really help you too much in terms of factual information, but it's to say that we always respect the trend first. Imagine trying to short T-Doc going into the afternoon meeting, just because I said it was shortable. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, respect the trend first. So I feel like that could be a more of a positive initially. And I'll play devil's advocate to that. How about that? I'm not just going to lean to one side, but devil's advocate here. Perhaps that could be short covering heading into the after hours, or I should say, short covering heading into the after hours of uncertainty, and then maybe they'll load up on more shorts heading into the next few days or next week, perhaps. We'll see. We're also at the end of the month too, so perhaps people are covering short positions going into May. That could also be indicative of what could be ahead for the market. So, what about Netflix? I don't have any thoughts on Netflix, Al. We don't really day trade the Amazons, the Apples, the Facebooks. I know Fausto put Facebook on the main watch list this morning. If you noticed, I had skipped over Facebook as I went over the gainer side. You probably saw that. I did that with a reason. I did that with an intention because we don't really day trade those stocks as much. So, in terms of Netflix or Amazon, I don't really have much information on those companies for you. From Dan on YouTube, he's asking about the STM trade, at least as far as the day trade. More within a price range. Up over 5%. It's pushing up a little bit. I like the volume spikes over the last hour or so, that's for sure. A little inconsistent there, but nonetheless, some big buying coming in or short covering coming in. Could be put on our watch list right now. Let me jump back to that ACHR. That one, at least the fact it's up a hell of a lot more, is more appealing to me. ACHR, yeah, it's hard to not put this on our list. It's right back to the highs again, squeezing back up. All right, folks, I'll tell you what. I think that we have a really good list so far out of all the stocks that we scanned through, at least, the TDOC, the Pinterest trade, HUSA, OST, which is down actually like that 90%. And then the ACHR here, all 5 of these actually, I feel like look the best heading into the next, 75, 80 minutes here for the close. So for all of us otherwise, hey, in the next 15 minutes from now, if none of these or most of these, don't really make a big move, then at that point, look at your side list. Then at that point, look at an STM or a Viru. I'm not going to look at Netflix or Amazon right now. Normally, to be transparent as well, and this is a personal thing, so make do with this with how you want. But I don't really day trade stocks prior to earnings, right before earnings. So even if Amazon is within our price range, which it's not, I wouldn't be as giddy about following it into the earnings report. I'd be interested in following it coming off the earnings report like we're doing with Pinterest. All right, folks, for all of us on Facebook Live, for all of us on YouTube, I didn't have the banner up until right now. How about that? I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you have any questions you would like to send over my way, any questions about stock or crypto trading education, or any questions about your trades altogether, feel more than free to send on over an email, josh@c2trading.com. I always like to post here at the end of these streams. Otherwise, if you're interested in joining our live trading room for tomorrow or for next week, if you wanted to start off on a clean week, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream right there to get yourself started on a small trial. But for Al, for Jeff, for Aravinda, Grant, Ray, Norman, all of us right now, I'll look forward to talking to you folks. I'll be back on the mic here in the afternoon here at 3:30 coming up.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world